Welcome back to Scrap with Shelby. Shelby here. Today we're going to do a layout using gel medium in place of Mod Podge and also a masking technique. What you see in front of you is a layout I've already done, and it'll be on the Scrap with Shelby forum for you to reference later, but we're going to do a brand new layout. So, to get started, what you need is a mask of sorts. Now you can use a commercial mask from Heidi Swapp or Tim Holtz, or you can make one from the blank Tim Holtz mask. Those are all great. If you don't have any of those, you can make your own mask. What I've done here is I've just cut out a shape from an electronic die cut system to make our own mask. So I don't need this part of it. I'm going to throw that to the side. I'm not going to throw it out, but I'm going to throw it to the side for now, and a piece of paper. So to get started, I'm going to place it on the paper the way I want it. Now I'm going to angle it slightly, or I could just line it up and do it straight. But I like it to the angle to the left a little bit, so I'm going to do that. Now, just to make life a little easier, I'm going to mask tape it, or scotch tape it rather, into place. I'm going to take the tape off later, but for right now, I'm just going to do that. And that. And that'll kind of help keep it in place while I work, okay? So that's how you set it up. I've already got one started. So I've shown this technique several times in other videos, but just as a reminder, okay, I'm just going to take some ink. This is my felt pad on my distressing tool. We all know that I like to use the alcohol ink applicator instead of the foam. I just like having one tool handy, and I like the felt, so it works for me. If you didn't have this, you could use a paper towel and the ink pad. You blot the towel into the pad, wipe it off, and then you can work. It works just as well. But I do recommend getting one of these tools if you like this technique a lot. Okay? So I dip the block into the ink, rub some of it off so I get a nice soft look, and I rub it up against there. Now what I did is I started with green. I used Peel's paint, or you could use Shabby Shutters is another popular, and I started on the right side here, and then I went back in and added some blue, and you kind of just work them all into each other. And now just to add just a little bit of definition, I'm going to take some walnut stain. Could be any brown. I like walnut stain for this kind of work. And just a tiny bit, if you bring it in just on the edges a little bit, you're not even going to see it that much, but if you do that, it'll give it just the little tiniest bit of that much more definition. What I think is so cool about this masking technique is the way it just kind of pops when you take the mask off. It doesn't really, it looks neat now, I think, actually, too, but when it really looks neat is when it really just pops right off the page, okay? So that's good enough for now. I think normally in real life I would make it a little bit more opaque. I would add more layers of ink on there, but for the sake of time, we're going to take the mask off so you can see it and go on to the next step, which is the Mod Podge, okay? So I'm going to untape this. Just take this right off. Of course, because I'm on camera, it doesn't want to come off, right? I don't want to tear my paper, though. If you like this paper, it is from Pink Paisley, but unfortunately, it's over with now, so you're going to have to find a vendor that still has it. I have a couple sheets left in stock if you really like it. Boy, that was so much harder than it had to be, wasn't it? Alright, and voila, there is the finished mask. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the next part. I've taken some music paper. This is from Creative Imaginations. Again, I have this on my website. It's Mary Johnson, it looks like, and I don't see a name for it. Okay, let's see. Cream Music, 11049. Okay, there we go. So I just took a piece of that out, and I just took some of these same colors, and I just added a little bit more to the blank white, just to make it stand out a little bit more. Okay, so here we go. We are going to use matte gel, medium gel matte. Alright, the matte refers to the finish as opposed to like a glossy, so there won't be any noticeable difference to this. It'll dry completely flat and clear. So, I use the Liquitex brand because that's what I can get in my local craft store. A lot of people use Golden. They'll say Golden Gel Medium. It's the same thing. It doesn't really matter. Alright, I am going to take some of this, and on the paper where I'm going to place this, let's see, I'll scoot it down a little bit more here, maybe over here. Here, we'll go for here. I don't really have a layout in mind yet, so we're just going to go for gold here. Is you're going to paint an area slightly larger than whatever it is you're putting down. Now, when I taught this in my November class with that other layout I showed you, I actually tore a book, I took a page out from a really old book, with the idea that this, anything that would acid-free would all be in between all this stuff here. I wasn't really too worried about it. This just happens to be another piece of scrap paper. So consider this an adhesive of sorts. I saw on the Prima newsletter this month that they use this as an adhesive for big 3D flowers. They use the flower center, so I thought that was cool. I didn't know you could do that. Alright, so I'm going to glue that down. Alright, and if you notice, it went down really super easy. That's why I like this in place of Mod Podge. Mod Podge is so sticky and it tends to bubble, and you don't really have to worry about that too much. Sorry, I can't talk. Now I'm going to put another layer on top of it. Alright, this doesn't want to stick too much, so I'm going to put a little bit more under there. Again, I'm working on my craft mat here from Ranger because nothing sticks to it, and I love that. Makes my cleanup easy. Okay, now, I don't want to put too heavy a coat on this while this is still wet, and that's, you could probably do it if it dries, but it's just easier to do it when it's wet. I'm going to rinse my brush out, and I'm going to leave the water on it. I'm going to take some acrylic paint. The key here is that the brush is wet. You don't want to do this with just plain paint because you'll just paint over what's there. Acrylic paint is opaque. We want to create kind of a wash with it. So by wetting it down, it's going to be a lot more translucent, which is what we want. Alright, so I'm going to get that really good and wet. And this is also wet too, don't forget. But the idea is to not get it too wet. If it's too opaque, quick, go get a paper towel and wipe some of it off before it dries. But we're going to kind of go over it a little bit. Alright, and I think it is just a little, it depends on how much you want. I've done this where it was just really melted into the background, and others where it kind of showed up here. I want it to show up a little bit more, so I'm going to wipe some of it off. You want to be careful with that so you don't tear the paper. Let me take some more of that paint off. I'm just going to take all the paint off, get the water out of my brush because it is getting a little too soft for my taste, and smooth it out a little bit. I could get a little bit of bubbling there, but that's okay. I think it's a lot easier to use than the Mod Podge. I'm just going to smooth it out a bit. There we go. Okay, so that's how you use it. Again, when it's dry, I'm going to take a cool iron to it, and warm iron, not cool, and flatten the whole thing out. And again, if you want to see a finished product right now, I'll finish this one in a couple days. I've got a lot going on with the 12 tags and scrapbook pages project for this year, but I'll finish that eventually and get it up on the website. In the meantime, you can see what we've done here. So here's the masking technique. I added some polka dots with paint over it. I'll probably do the same thing with this. I did this in the November class, and we did it with diamonds, and it looks really cool for the boy mommies. And you can see in the background here that this one actually got layered over. Then I took a stamp. So I don't think I have any stamps. There's just a script stamp here. So we'll figure out something for this one. In the next installment of this page, what I'll do with the same masking technique is, in the next video, I'll show you how to do this little piece here because this is really fun. Until then, thanks for watching, and don't forget to visit us at scrapbookshelby.com. Thank you.